Yep, still testing the stream. But the other thing I wanted to talk about, it has to do with um, the kids who are up and coming. The next couple of generations. I am a combat sports coach, part time and as a hobby, and I used to teach kids classes. I really have stepped back from that, and I basically help now because my younger son likes to come to the gym with me, and he's not always the calmest little guy all the time. But folks, there is something going on with our younger kids, and I don't know what it is or how to fix it. And what I mean by that is Carmelo Anthony, from what we understand and from what the evidence says in court, um, went to a track meet, got into a confrontation with another young man, and felt the need to uh, stick a knife in his chest, so to speak. Now that's still coming out in court, and if we come to find out that that story is different, I'll come up here and correct my opinion and correct what I said about it. But so far, that's what our understanding is. Now, I understand there's a size difference, but you don't bring a knife to a fist fight. You don't bring a knife to a shoving fight. It's if you're defending yourself legitimately, it has to be equal force. If somebody puts their hands on you, stabbing them is the unreasonable thing to do. With that being said, there is something definitely wrong with our kids and the younger generations. I've started noticing like kids at jiu-jitsu competitions specifically are being, instead of being competitive and being, sharing techniques and actually making friends, I'm starting to notice a lot of kids just being very malicious. I mean, um, and to what I mean specifically is they're using techniques that are effectively just pain compliance techniques to try to beat their opponent. Now, I don't know who's teaching these kids those techniques, but that's not the problem. The problem is they have no issues doing it, and they have absolutely no concern to their opponent after their match is finished, which is extremely bizarre. Good example. I'll use two examples that my older son was involved in. There was a young man, uh, about 8 months ago now, maybe not that long ago, but anyways, he obviously did not know very much jujitsu, and he had a wrestling background. So when he started fighting my son, he started stacking him and then took a fist, put it in his neck, and drove his fist into his throat. And he had my son at an angle, such an angle, that my son really couldn't defend what was happening. Long story short, this dude was crushing my son's throat with his fist. Now, according to IBJJF rules, which this competition was going by, direct throat compression attacks are illegal for kids. So, from my understanding, what this young man did to my son was illegal. Now, when it was all said and done, my son's throat was almost crushed. He couldn't breathe. He's having trouble breathing, but you could see something like pop out of his throat, like the trachea just went like it corrected itself, like when you crush a bottle slightly and you blow into it and then it reforms into proper shape. Something like that happened. And I went to go talk to the young man, and he was gone. He didn't check up on my son at all. But not only was he gone, um, his dad was gone. Like, I couldn't even talk to the guy to say, hey, this is what happened. This is illegal. Blah, blah, blah. Um, that young man was more worried about winning than anything, which is okay. But they got mad at me for not shaking their son's hand versus um, showing any concern over his opponent. Now, the referee came and talked to me about it. He said he didn't see it. We went and turned to go talk to the other dad. Couldn't find him. Found him later on. Tried to talk to him, and he blew me off. He didn't care. So that's fine. The reason why I bring this up is because that's not an isolated incident. Just recently, my son had another opponent who had a chip on his shoulder. It was a 14-year-old boy. I think there were shenanigans with weight because he was definitely bigger than my 12-year-old son. But and the bracket had my son heavier than him. So in hindsight, there were some shenanigans going on anyways. But this young man had a bad attitude the entire time. And he started using pain compliance on my son. Started doing rear naked chokes on his jaw with such force that the kid's arms were shivering as he was trying to apply it. I don't know how my son withstood that. Started digging his chin into my son's soft tissue on his face and left a scar on his cheek. Started grinding his forearms into my son's face, jaw. Started grinding his chin again up onto the crown, the top of his head. Squeezing his head with a headlock, just sitting there and just squeezing as tightly as he could. Things that aren't really good jiu-jitsu. And really, things that a 14-year-old shouldn't be doing to a 12-year-old in a competition. Like, I'm sorry, dude, if you have to do all that to try to beat a 12-year-old, you kind of suck. But anyways, that young man had no issues intentionally trying to hurt someone 2 years younger than him and smaller than him. And it's crazy to me because I looked over, and it wasn't, in this instance, it wasn't his dad who was coaching. It was an actual coach from the other gym. And I'm sure he saw what was going on. I don't see how he could have missed it. He didn't say a word. And the crazy thing is, after that match was said and done, and I was happy with my son, he didn't give up. It was best 2 out of 3, and he beat the kid one time, and didn't get submitted by him the other two matches, which I think kind of ruined his win streak and kind of ruined his submission streak, but it's whatever. As I looked at the other matches, I noticed the same thing. Not on all of them, but there was at least, I'd say about 6 out of 10 matches that I saw. The one or both of the kids were doing pain compliance techniques. Stuff that at my gym we would never teach the kids. But I'm wondering if there's like some YouTube videos, or if there's somebody on some competitor that they're all watching that does these types of things. Because a year or two ago, nobody was doing this in terms of the kids. Nobody was grinding bone into, people's face. Nobody was, I saw one kid pass another kid's guard, got one of his feet caught, and then turned and intentionally dropped his knee on the other kid's side of his face while he's playing half guard. And it's just weird to me because there's nothing worth this type of maliciousness that you could get from any of these competitions. You get a medal, great. Is it going to do anything for your life? No. Are you going to get anything useful out of it other than a medal? No. The experience is only going to be useful in this realm of a combat sport. But other than that, nobody cares. You might be able to get Instagram followers, but if all you're doing is crappy jiu-jitsu and, questionable techniques, I don't really think you're going to get that far at all. You might get like something for shock value, but then you're just going to get a bad reputation for being a dirty fighter. Now, yeah. But anyways, yeah, there's something wrong with our kids. Like, this type of stuff it's not good sportsmanship in my opinion. And it's just malicious. Like, why would you want to intentionally inflict pain on someone instead of just passing their guard, arm barring them so you can just end the match quickly. It's really, and if you think about it, it's really just a waste of time during the match. The little time you spend doing all of that stuff, you could be advancing into something else, advancing into a submission, advancing into getting out of a guard, you know, trying to pass, trying to do a takedown. And it's funny because I saw another match where it was two, I guess, 15, 16-year-old boys, and one of them was doing the same thing. He had double overhooks, got a chin strap grip, and then it definitely looked like he was digging his chin in the side of the guy's jaw, like this area right here, where the jaw and the neck were. I don't get it. I don't get it. I thought it was just me, and one of the other black belts in our affiliation noticed the exact same thing. So I hope he gets better, because if that's the next generation when they get to be adults, I hope they get out of that, because that's going to be a scary sight. Someone who has no problems like inflicting pain upon you and just being malicious. That's not a good combo. I see a lot of places not attracting new members because, if you roll with someone for the first time and they rip a submission or, dig their chin, their elbows, whatever, into your soft tissue for God knows what reason, they're not going to stick around. And quite frankly, I'm starting to see an increasing number of people in this area who don't want their kids to participate in jiu-jitsu competitions anymore because of this bad attitude and maliciousness. I've said malicious a lot tonight. But anyways, let me know what you think. I may post this, I may not post it. This overlay looks pretty good. I do like it. Okay, bye.